What is up, my friends? Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I know it's been a while, but I am back and I've missed you all so much. If you guys are new here, welcome. If you haven't yet, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on any of my future uploads. Today, we are making this cute little convenient SiQ mask bag that I have designed. Now, if you're anything like me, with this new way of living, I am constantly forgetting to grab a clean mask before I leave the house. So I've designed this bag to hold the essentials and kind of make a fashion statement at the same time. Now, I designed this bag based off of the masks that I actually make and sell. This bag is very beginner friendly and is comprised of two basic pattern pieces seen here. The main pattern piece is 7.5 inches wide by 9 inches tall and meant to be cut on the fold. The pocket piece measures 8 inches wide by 6 to 7 inches tall. I also show the measurements for the handle, which is 4 inches wide by 7 inches long, but I don't usually make pattern pieces for those. You're also going to need your hardware like a 1-inch D-ring, a 1-inch D-ring swivel hook, and of course your zipper tape, which should roughly measure about 17 to 18 inches long, and of course your zipper pull. So go ahead and grab your supplies and let's get sewing. In spite of this crazy new life events, I truly hope that you are all well and staying safe and at least finding time to create and finish new fun projects like this. For this tutorial, I have chosen to use this cute black cat fabric with eyes for the lining, and this is the interfacing that I use. It is actually a Peltex double-sided flex foam. I love this for all of my bags. Now, to save time, I've already prepped my outside by cutting out the outside layer and fusing it to my foam with my lining. And basically, I'm just going to grab my pocket piece, my handle, I'm going to pick out my zipper tape, and I thought silver would be the best to go with this bag, and I'm just grabbing my hardware and my essentials so we can get on over to the sewing machine. So first things first, what we're going to do is we're going to take our pocket piece and we're just going to prep this real quick by basically doing a double fold on the top of the pocket and sewing that nice and flat. Now, taking the pocket piece, I'm positioning it onto my bag. Now, each bag that I make is kind of different. It just depends on the decorative fabric that I'm using for the pocket, but I sometimes position it higher and sometimes lower, and that's why on my pattern piece it said 6 to 7 inches tall. So what I'm doing is I'm just top stitching this into the side and then sewing down the bottom edge of the fabric. And right before I get to the center, I'm going to stop and sink my needle, and I'm going to fold this edge over at my center mark. And I'm sorry if you can't see my my little white lines on my fabric, but I have marked the center point of my bag so I know where to stop and fold that pocket over. Typical Susie, you know me. So we're just going to take this stitch all the way up to the top of the pocket and do a back tack, and that's it. And then what I do is I cut the excess fabric of that pocket away. Now, you guys, I'm going to be honest with you. It's almost like I haven't filmed a YouTube video in 2 years. What I'm showing you here is I have a center mark on there, and from each side of the center mark, I have actually done a snip that's about 1/4 inch deep. Now, because you can't see that center line, I'm actually going to go in and define this a little bit more with my scissors by snipping that little V into the center. Now, these registration marks are very important because this is going to tell you where you need to put your zipper in. And here you can see it a little bit better. Now, that center piece is very important. Do not cut it off. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my zipper tape. I've drawn a line on here, but it's not necessary to use if you cut your zipper tape a little bit longer than what you need, which is why I say 17 to 18 inches long. But you do want at least 1 to 1.5 inches of extra zipper tape in the center, because we are going to kind of curve it down into the bag when we're doing the finishing. So basically what I'm just doing here is I am top stitching my zipper tape into the side of the bag. And just make sure that you go slow and steady around your corners. Zippers, I think, are probably not as hard as most people make them out. And I mean, if you've been with my channel for a while, you'll know that I'm not really big on pinning stuff in. I've made quite a few of these bags at this point, so I actually don't pin or use a lot of wonder clips or anything like that. But I mean, do what you do. And make sure that you add your zipper tape to the other side as well. Next, you're going to trim away the excess foam. And I'm going to say this is roughly half of what the distance from the edge of the fabric to where you stitched in your zipper. We're going to trim that away, but do not trim the center of the where you put the registration marks for your zipper. You want to leave that centerpiece where you made those snips. You want to leave that in there. That's really important for later. So you can see right here, I'm showing you where I left that centerpiece in. I did not cut that. And this is why that cutting that fabric away was important, because we're actually just going to turn the zipper to the back and the bag to the back, and we're going to top stitch from the back side. Now I'm using roughly, I think, a 3-inch, or a 3-inch. I'm using a 3 on my stitch length, and I'm just going to go up and around the corner of this bag. And like I said, you guys, it's been a minute, okay? It's been a minute. I've been very busy. A lot has changed with life, and obviously my sewing machine. Oh, here I'm showing you that I was too lazy to get up and get a stiletto. So I am using this long needle to help me kind of hold the tape down, which I think, I mean, a needle, a stiletto, whatever works for you. I'm using this to kind of position the zipper tape down onto the fabric so it doesn't pucker or bunch too much. Use what works good for you. Now, if you guys aren't following me, I'm on Instagram. I do show a lot of this behind the scenes type of stuff on my Instagram in my stories quite frequently. So what we're going to do is we're going to go up and around the corner, and when we get to this center part, I mean, this is kind of redundant, so I'm going to kind of speed through this till I get up to the center point, which is the most important part. I know you guys have missed me. And even furthermore, why I'm saying it's been a hot minute since I filmed, I didn't realize that my camera was in the wrong position when I was filming this. I am so sorry, but I'm showing you here. What I'm doing is I'm kind of curving that zipper tape down to the center on both sides right here. And that's what I'm doing that you can't see behind my little hand, is I've just curved that zipper tape to kind of face down. And you're bending over that center fabric where I said it's important not to cut it. You want that to be a little bit longer, or else it will end up poking up from your finished bag. So once I've done the left side, I curve the right side of the zipper tape down to kind of nub up against the other side of the zipper tape so they meet right dead in the center. I hope this makes sense. And for the sake of this video not being too long, I'm going to go ahead and speed through me coming down the other side of the bag. And again, I'm just using my needle because I honestly, I couldn't find my stiletto to save my life. So once we're done, go ahead and check your work and marvel at how beautiful it looks. I love this bag. It is adorable, and it's simple, and yeah, they're just fantastic. I hope you guys like them too. Now this center piece right here, I'll typically cut straight along the bottom line right here, and I'll use my lighter to kind of light the end of the zipper tape so it doesn't unravel. Now here I'm showing you the different zipper pulls I have. I love these big zipper pulls. I found them on Amazon. I'll link them down below. And they're just perfect. Now obviously this one's not the right color, so that's not the one I'm going to use. But I have these two other ones. One with the rounded and one that's kind of a triangle shape, which I think we're going to go for that one. Yeah, the triangle definitely. So what I typically do is I pinch my bag together with the outside facing up, and I follow the tape down to make sure that they measure properly down at the bottom. And then I finagle. This is the biggest thing about the big zipper pulls, is they go onto the zipper tape so easy. I haven't found a shop that sells just the pulls separately. I think you have to buy them with the tape, but they do come with quite a few. So, I mean, it's kind of worth it. So what we're going to do next is we're going to turn the bag from inside out. Now, I don't zip the tape all the way down. I just zip it down a little bit and I hold it in my hand so the zipper pull doesn't go flying off. And we're going to match up the bottom. Make sure that's nice and flat. True it up real good. And we're going to go ahead and close the bottom up. Now, I do box the corners on the bottom of all of my bags, and not every bag is boxed exactly the same. I have done them at 1 inch, 1.5 inch, and a 2 inch, and I think I prefer 1.5 inch, so that's kind of personal preference. Now, I don't go all the way through the zipper. I just go up to the zipper tape and then I back tack. And because we're boxing our corners, that's not too essential to go all the way over to the end, because we're going to be cutting that off here real quick. You'll see. But I do light the end of my zipper tape so it doesn't fray and unravel through time. Now you can serge this edge or top stitch closer to the bottom edge if you like. You don't have to, but do you. And I have cut out some bias tape out of this eyes fabric because I thought that would be really cute for binding. So that's what we're going to use for the binding on this. And again, I'm not going exactly over the entire zipper. I'm just starting at where the tape ends and the bag begins. And this is really basic binding. Like I said, this is a very beginner friendly bag. I think I can make one of these in like 30 minutes. And just sew your bias tape all the way down to the edge, and a quick back tack, which isn't really necessary because we are going to be boxing this corner. But what you do is you turn your bag over, and we're going to do a double fold over this edge, and just nice and neat fold that bias tape over on top of the bag and sew it all the way down. What other kind of projects have you guys been working on throughout this quarantine time? Do you guys have any videos that you would like me to film for you? Or, how have you guys been doing in general? I hope you've been doing good. I have been very busy making masks and these bags too. So, okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to start boxing the corner real quick here. I like to put my hand on the inside and either move that bottom edge to either one side or the other. So what I'll do is I'll take the center seam here and line it up with the side seam and make sure that I kind of pinch and flatten that out. And grab a couple of trusty Wonder Clips to clip my side. And then I'm going to turn the bag over and do the other corner. And we're going to pinch that and flatten that out nice and flat to match the other side. And I do take my fingernail on the inside and kind of flatten out the fabric just to make sure there's no pucker in that corner before I top stitch. Now, because I've done so many of these bags, you can make this 3/4 to 1 inch or 2 inch. Like I said, however thick you want the base of your bag to be. I typically like 1.5 inches thick or 2 inches thick. So I just top stitch one side, and then what I do is I bend the bag in half again, and I take my trusty white gel pen. Again, if you've been with my channel for a bit, you know that this pen is a tried and true. I use it on pretty much all of my projects. I will put a link in the description box below because they are very handy, and they're water-based, so they pretty much come out of everything that you write on. So after I do my mark, I remove my clips, and I am going to give you a big sewing tip that I have put in my other videos, but I think it's been a minute. Now, since you have that big lump in the center going over the top of it, I actually will take a piece of cardstock or poster board that's shorter to kind of put over the top of the fabric, and I'm stitching parallel to it, but not over it. And that'll help your foot go up and over that big bulk. And then we'll go ahead and cut off about 1/4 inch away from the seam. And these scissors, oh my gosh, they were a gift that I got, I think, last year for Christmas, and I absolutely love them. They're the best. And we're going to check out our work here. And here's where I'm going to keep it real with you guys. I messed up a little bit here. One side was a little bit longer than the other. I actually thought about cutting this out, but I just wanted to show you guys that these little mistakes, they happen to all of us. And it just takes one quick whip through the sewing machine again to fix it. I think one of my sides was a little bit lower than the other side, so I just stitched a little bit closer to the seam. And voila, we're done. And then we're going to double check our work again. And that looks a lot better. So I am going to go ahead and grab my bias tape binding. And this same fashion that we did at the bottom, we're going to do it on the side. And I always leave roughly about 1/2 inch of a tail of that fabric off the edge when I'm finishing a seam. So that way there's no fray on the inside of the bag. And I'll just fold that fabric over and pin it in place, and then do a double fold. These can be kind of tricky when they're, you know, small pieces of fabric. So practice makes perfect. And we'll go ahead and remove that pin before we top stitch that bias binding down. And then you want to make sure that you repeat that on your other side. And then when you're done with both sides, you can go ahead and flip your bag back out to the right side and take a good look at this cute little bag. Looks good. Everything looks very symmetrical. Both box corners look great. I'm loving it. The best part about this is you can switch your zipper tapes, the pulls, the linings. Like, you can just really make this bag you. So I would have shown you how to top stitch. I mean, I know you guys know how to top stitch. It's just this strap holder. I couldn't find the footage, and I'm very sorry. Like I said, it's been a minute, but I will do better. I'm sorry. You know, these things happen. But what I did is I took and I cut 2.5 inches off of the 17-inch length of strap. And I'm just looking at which side I want to be the outside of my bag strap. And what I do is I add the swivel hook with the D-ring on it. And I have to take this over to another machine to zigzag because this machine is just a straight stitch. And after you have zigzagged that, we're going to take this scrap of fabric. This one was roughly like 5 inches by 3.5 inches. You can see it's just kind of like bias tape. And you can sew both edges down on this if you'd like to, but it's not really necessary because of the way that we're finishing this. And what I'm going to do is just trim it down, and then I'm going to kind of cradle that handle over the top of the zigzag. This is what's going to hide your zigzag. And then I'm going to tuck these edges down into the center, nice and perfect. And we're going to top stitch both sides. Now, when going through this much bulk, and granted I am using a 22 needle, I don't like to backstitch. So I just pivot my fabric and stitch down one way, pivot, stitch down the other. Now we're going to go back to this little piece with the D-ring, and I fold this in thirds like you see me doing here. And what I do is I open up the bag and I identify the center point of the spine of the bag. And I position that D-ring where I would like that to sit. You can do it high, you can do it low. Like I said, this is just a fun project, you know, something that you can carry with you and put your car keys, your cell phone, your mask, so that way you don't leave the house. I mean, it's pretty convenient, you know. And again, we're going to top stitch close to the D-ring, going down one side, and I'll pivot and stitch back the other way, and then we'll do the same thing on the lower edge of it as well. And that's pretty much it. You are done with this build. We're going to go ahead and take a look at this bag. It's so super cute. I absolutely love it. And I have built, like I said, several of these bags. I did this Native American inspired one with the Thunderbird on the outside, which is the one that I personally carry. And you can see the base on this one was a little bit wider. That one is roughly about 3 inches wide. And like I said, I've built these bags based off of the mask that I make and sell in my shop. If you guys want to check those out, I will link my website, as well as these bags too. If you guys are not like the sewing savvy kind of person and you just want to purchase one of these bags instead of make them, they are listed in my website. And I do allow you guys to pick the fabric for the outside and for the lining and for your handle. And I'm just showing you the inside of this bag as well. I would absolutely love to see what you guys come up with. Go ahead and tag me on Instagram through SiQ Clothing Official. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel before you leave. Follow me on all other social media, and I will see you guys in my next video. Toodles!